Welcome to Knife Chats. If you like this video, please take a moment to leave a comment. Thank you. Rough Rider recently contacted me and asked if I would review a couple of their new knives. And not being a fool, I said absolutely, I'd love to do so. And so they sent me the Highland Lockback, and I thought this is going to be a really cool knife, and I was absolutely correct. And so let's take a look at the Highland Lockback. So what exactly is the Highland Lockback? Well, it's a 4.5-inch folding hunter. It comes with a nylon and leather sheath. We'll talk more about the sheath in a little bit. And it's got a kind of a unique design for a folding hunter. If you can tell here, some people will notice it right away. These are micarta scales, so black micarta scales, brass pins, brass liners. The red portion here, those are red G10 spacers, stainless steel bolsters. You have a hole here for a lanyard, and then it's obviously a lockback, so you've got your stainless steel back spring. If it looks like this has been used, that's because it has been. I've used it a few times already. And because how can you review a knife without using it first? And the first thing that caught my eye when I first grabbed this out of the box was the shape of the handle, because it just seemed a little odd. This is the way your 5-inch lockbacks normally look, and you notice there's a significant difference here. And I'll get to a bit of that in a minute. One of the cool things about this shape is if you notice how the guard up here is, this is the front bolster, and the way it kind of slides around and it matches up here. So that allows this knife to basically drop in and out of the pocket with a little problem, despite the little bit of a angle right there on the blade. But that blade is going to drop right into the back spring here, and it's going to lock up really good in a minute. You notice also here the match striker pull, and as it is a Rough Rider knife, the blade is 448 stainless steel. Really nice all around. The micarta just flows right into the stainless steel, and despite having brass spacers and the G10 spacer and everything here, it is pretty smooth. You can rub your nail across it. It catches a little bit, but not much. Very smooth on the back here. The brass pins are smooth and flush with the micarta handles. And then when you open the blade up, nice positive lock. And you can actually just flip this blade open with one hand, which is kind of cool with a little practice, because there's enough blade showing here that you can easily pinch it, so you can easily just get a good grab on there and flick it open. So with it open, here you have the blade. You have a nice saber grind on it, and this is hollow ground coming down, which is really nice. It's nice and clean. Feels great. The overall length of that blade, if you can tell here, is right at 3¼ inches. Now if you look at the blade on a 5-inch lockback, this is the Baron Son 5-inch lockback for the Boy Scouts of America. It has a 3 7/8 inch blade, or this one actually has closer to 3 3/4 inch blades. Typically they're somewhere around that. So the blade on this is approximately 5/8 of an inch to a 1/2 inch shorter. However, if you notice with the way the kick is here, it's much larger on the Baron Son, and it's much larger on most of the 5-inch lockbacks. So your actual usable cutting edge is not quite as bad as you think it is. And if you compare the cutting edge on, for instance, a sharp finger, in this case a Baron Son upswept Skinner, the blade length, the cutting edge, really not much of a difference, if you see there. So you have still about as much cutting edge on this knife as you do a sharp finger, and obviously about perhaps anywhere from 3/8 of an inch to 5/8 of an inch less on a 5-inch lockback. So it should work pretty well. if you're using it for skinning or anything else. And the other cool thing about this knife, though, is the shape of the handle. If you notice, there is a slight palm swell here, which is going to help when you're grabbing it, but there's more to it than just that. Once you open that blade up and you grab it with your hand, it just kind of falls right into place, and it just feels really good. You've got a little bit of a finger groove back there, a finger groove there, and because of the shape of the front there, the front bolster, you've got a little bit of a guard, so your hand is not going to slip up on the blade too easily. Obviously, if you turn it around, works the same way for the pinky, so when you're stabbing down or something, you've still got some protection there. And it is nice and smooth across the top here, so you can definitely get up there with a finger or something, and your thumb is also still protected. So even though you've got a very short area here, your hand is protected from slipping up on the blade, and that's why you can still get quite a bit of blade, usable blade for cutting on such a short knife. So 4.5-inch handle, nice little palm swell there, feels really great, and you can really hold it easy. And like I said, you can actually get up there on it too. Good positive lock on the back here, so you really do need to push down a little bit to close it. But with a little practice, you can also close it with one hand, you know, the typical pushing up against the side of your leg and everything. So I'm really happy with the overall function of the knife, and also just the shape of it, the ergonomics of it and everything. Just a really terrific knife to work with. So, and I have been carrying it now for a little over a week and have been using it. It came razor sharp. You'll see a test on that. You'll also see me flipping it later with just pinching it and opening it with one hand. So all of those things are another big plus to this knife. And overall, the quality of the build is just fantastic. Everything is nice and tight, opens cleanly. If you notice, there is absolutely no blade wobble in there at all. Now, when you do close it, you will see that the blade wobbles when you've got it closed. But guess what? That's not uncommon in lockbacks. This is one by Colonial. And here's the Baron's Son. I cherry picked this one, and even it has blade wobble. I don't have a buck 110, but I bet you there's blade wobble in a buck 110 when the blade is closed too. It's when the blade is open that it locks and it's tight. And the same is true with this Rough Rider Highland Lockback. That blade does not wobble when it's open, and it's got a very positive closing there. You can pound on the back of it, you know, and it's not going to move or anything. So you're not going to close it unless you push down on the back of the lockback, and then it will close nice and smooth. And goes in there really nice. There's no thing sticking here or anything. You've got the lanyard hole in the back. Does not interfere with the lanyard hole, so you can definitely tie a lanyard on it, which is something I always like to have. And it just opens up really cool. Obviously, as you notice, I have yet to use the nail striker pull, but you can do that if you want to. Nail striker, match striker pull. So let's clear a few things away here and get back to talking to you about the knife. Okay, as I mentioned, the knife comes with a sheath, and the sheath is a mixture of leather and nylon. Personally, I would have preferred an all nylon sheath. That's just me. You see here the Rough Rider name across the top. It's got a good pull here on the front, so it will open nice and easy. And the leather is form-fitted. It's nice thick leather. It's all black. Decent enough quality on the leather. My only problem with the sheath is you notice the metal clip here. That is also on the inside. You've got metal on the inside, and when you drop your knife in there, that is going to be hitting your micarta, and it may scratch it. I don't know. I don't know how well micarta will handle that, but if nothing else, it might also cause staining if it gets wet or something. So that's one of the things that I have a problem with a lot of sheaths that have snaps. So I actually prefer sheaths that have like a Velcro closure or something that protects the inside here so that the metal of the closure is not hitting the knife. You don't find many sheaths like that though. I would have preferred this to be all nylon, maybe with the leather accent here with the Rough Rider part. I didn't need this part to be nylon, I mean leather, but a lot of people will like it that way. Now the back side of the sheath, you have obviously for vertical carry or horizontal carry, which is nice. It does not, I believe, have the ability for Molle compatible. Does not look to be. No, it's definitely not Molle compatible, at least not without a little work. But all in all, it's a pretty decent sheath, and it will do for people who want to use a sheath. Me personally, I'm not going to be using the sheath because at 4.5 inches, despite being 4.5 inches, it's really not too big for the pocket. Yeah, it is a little weighty, but this is about a 1/2 inch longer than my Victorinox Explorer, and it's easily 1/8 of an inch or less or more thinner. So size-wise, it's not much bigger than my Victorinox Explorer, a Swiss Army knife I always carry, and it's definitely heavier because it is a beefy knife, but not really going to be too much of a problem for a pocket carry as far as I'm concerned. And it's nice to have a nice solid lockback in your pocket, and this one will do really well for that. You can see all the fingerprints. Sorry about that, but like I said, I have been using the knife. All in all, I'm very pleased with it, very happy with it, and maybe in a couple months I will do another review and let you know more about it once I know how well it stands the test of time. But so far, after using it for a week or so, I'm very pleased with the knife. Find it to be excellent right out of the box, and it is proving to be an excellent everyday carry knife for me, which is saying a lot as far as I'm concerned. I hope that all helps, and thank you, Rough Rider, for sending me an excellent knife. Very pleased with it. Stay tuned for a little bit more information on the Highland Lockback series, as well as some pictures of me opening this knife and cutting up paper with it and such. So the model number is the RR1654 1654 Highland Lockback Folding Hunter. You have a 3¼ inch long 440A stainless steel clip point blade. The handle is 4.5 inches long, so the overall length when open is 7¾ inches. Micarta handle, G10 spacers, brass liners, brass pins, stainless steel bolsters, and it has a nylon and leather sheath that can be worn horizontally or vertical. And you will see that even though it has a match strike pull set up for a right-handed person, this knife can be opened left or right-handed simply because the amount of blade that you're able to pinch between your fingers. Depending on the strength of the back spring and how much of the blade you can grab, you can often flip open a traditional pattern knife one-handed. You do this by pinching the blade between your fingers, and then with the point away from you, just flick downward and the blade should pop right open. You can do this with a lot of lockbacks, and the Highland Lockback is no exception. Just another bonus with this nice little knife. Besides the Highland Lockback, there's also a Highland Spike and a Highland Bowie, so I thought I'd also take a few seconds to talk about those, and so here they are. The Highland Spike is RR 1962, It's got a 4¼ inch clip blade and has G10 handles. It goes for $9.99. It's kind of like a hideaway knife or a kind of personal defense type of weapon. So if you're into those kind of things, this is right up your alley. As you notice, it also does have a lanyard hole. And then to round out the series, you have the Rough Rider Highland Bowie, which is RR 1730. It features a 9¼ inch long drop point blade, a micarta handle with brass pins, and then the G10 spacer, as well as a pommel with a lanyard hole. And a nylon sheath with leather accents, as you can see in the picture here. So it's one of those that kind of drops from the belt like the old Western 49 sheaths did. So it's pretty cool looking sheath too. So as you can see, when you look at all three knives together, what you have are classic patterns with modern touches. So it's really taking the best of both worlds in these knives. At $14.99, I'm sure you're not going to find a better lockback, especially with a micarta handle and a blade that is just razor sharp. And that's my 2 cents. So this is after about 2 weeks of actually using the knife, so it's not straight out of the factory, but I think you can catch on that it is still sharp, even after 2 weeks of cutting up other things, including more skinnier stuff than paper. So yeah, the knife, it can cut, as they say. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Knife Chats, and if you did, please like and share it with your friends. Comments are always welcome. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode of Knife Chats is up online. Thanks again. Hope to see you soon.